Hello, and welcome to A Peace and Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Gorley, and we are going to continue to dive into the heart of the young adult novel of Peace and Precipitation. We're going to read chapter 18, and then we're going to talk about it. So we're going to go into a little bit of commentary and different things like that. So chapter 17 kind of left us in this moment where it went from just absolute distraughtness, Jen flashing back to her life knowing it's going to be different, and now she has this moment with God in the pouring autumn rain that kind of changes her perspective. But she's still difficult times for sure. So in chapter 18, we're going to kind of see what goes from there. Where is she at now after she had this awful, embarrassing, humiliating time, but then she had this moment with God in her heart, and we'll see where it kind of goes from there. All right, so chapter 18. Saturday morning, Jen's eyes fluttered open. Light was pressing through her drawn Venetian blinds. Exhausted, Jen did not want to move. She rolled over a little and grabbed her iPod to check the time. 11:33 a.m. Wow, I really slept in. Lana must be at work. She lay in bed for a minute, staring blankly up at the ceiling. She felt so out of it, but there was something that she should remember, but couldn't. As she lay there half asleep, she started to realize it wasn't good, whatever it was. She started to have a pit in her stomach, but her sleepy mind couldn't recall what she was so upset about. Her anxiety began to increase. Despite her best efforts to remember, her eyelids started to close again, and she felt herself about to drift off to sleep, and then it flooded back. All at once, she remembered everything. The slip, the fall, Lana screaming, her friends making fun, Morgan telling her they weren't friends, the rain, the moment of peace, everything. Jen's eyes were wide open as she recounted every moment. She wished she could go back to sleep, but her mind was racing, and now she was suddenly wide awake. Jen sat up and pushed back the covers. She looked for her pink flip-flops, inserted her toes, and noticed her fancy shoes covered in mud laying on the floor. She squinted at them in anger and grabbed them and threw them across the room. Dang shoes. That's what I get the one time I actually try to look nice. As she opened the door to head to the bathroom, whiffs of bacon, syrup, and Elena's buttery, starchy, extra delicious pancakes hit her nose and initiated hunger that Jen hadn't felt 5 seconds earlier. Lana often worked Saturday mornings, but obviously wasn't working today. After a quick trip to the bathroom, Jen yawned and walked downstairs. Walking through the living room to the dining room only made the delightful smell increase. There she saw Lana smiling, humming Moon River. Hi, Jen. Hi, Mom. You don't have to work today? Jen said, wishing that her mom was at work. Well, I talked to Amy at work, and she was willing to switch with me. Okay, Jen said, not wanting to say anything more. Jen noticed the clock again and figured that Lana was trying to make up for everything by letting Jen sleep in. Jen wasn't sure if that she wanted to be fine with her mom just because she let her sleep in. Just thinking about it still made her feel so out of it, as if her head were in the clouds. Well, just eat your breakfast, honey, Lana said as she handed a plate of delicious buttery pancakes with her famous strawberry maple syrup, whipped cream, and a couple of strips of bacon lying parallel on the top of the golden brown pancakes. Jen began to salivate just thinking about the bacon and pancakes. They looked ridiculously delicious. However, she wasn't sure if she wanted to eat them. She was still mad about what happened. While Jen was happy to have such a serendipitously tasty breakfast, she didn't want to accept the delicious-looking olive branch when she was still so upset. But within moments, she gave in. I can eat pancakes without accepting what my mom did. Jen's mouth was happy that her brain had arrived at this conclusion. About 10 bites into her pancakes, the phone rang. Lana answered. Hello? Oh, hi, yes. She is here. Yes, yes. Yeah, you can talk to her. She just woke up. She's eating her breakfast. She's eating pancakes and bacon. Jen rolled her eyes. Lana had this habit of giving away too much unnecessary information to people, especially while on the phone. Jen, it's for you. It's Miss Collins, the play director. Lana said the last three words in a whisper to give emphasis, as if Jen didn't know who she was. Okay, Mom, just hand me the phone. Hello, Jen answered. Hi, Jen. Hi, Jen. This is Miss Collins from school. Hi, Miss Collins. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the other night. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about what happened, Jen said while getting up from the table in order to distance herself from her mom. Lena started to follow, but then Jen shook her head and put up a finger to motion for her to stay, and Lena did. Jen continued, Yeah, I'm really sorry. My mom, she's hard to explain. Jen, don't even worry about it. Some of the other students told me all about her. Jen rolled her eyes in annoyance. God only knew what the other students had said about her. Okay, she said, responding, not knowing what to say next. Yeah, Jen, I just don't want to stress you or your mom out anymore. So I just gave your part to another student for the next two shows. I just wanted to make sure you were okay, and I didn't want anything more to upset you or your mom. Oh, okay. Thanks, Jen said without enthusiasm. Oh, you're welcome, Jen. I just want you to be okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, Jen. Well, we'll talk again soon. Bye. Bye. Almost immediately, Lena came over from round the corner, making it pretty obvious that she was eavesdropping. Jenny, what did she want? Is she calling to tell you what a good job you did? Jen shook her head. No, she didn't, Mom. She told me that I didn't have to come back the next 2 days. Maybe they think I need rest or something. I thought you said you were okay. Yeah, I am okay, but maybe they think I'm not okay. Oh, well, it's probably best to rest up anyways. Yeah, I guess, Jen said with an eye roll. Jenny, I just want to say I'm sorry to you for what happened. I wanted to make breakfast for you to spend some time with you. Oh, okay, well, thanks, I guess. I don't know. I don't think you are able to understand how embarrassing that was. I just understand how you didn't know that I was okay. You can't die from slipping and falling. Why did you think I was so hurt? It wasn't a big deal until you started screaming in front of the whole school. I just don't understand you. I don't know, Jenny. I just thought you were hurt. I was worried about you, Jenny. You could have been hurt so bad. No, Mom, I couldn't have. You were the only one in the entire place that thought that. Jenny, I think it's going to be okay. Will it, Mom? Will it be okay? Maybe okay for you, not for me. I'm going to go take a nap. I'm still tired. Okay, Jenny, I'm sorry. I just want everything to be okay. Well, it's not okay. And Jen walked back to her room. When she got upstairs, she flopped on her bed and put her face into her pillow. She just left her face there for a moment, smushed by the fluff and the pillowcase. She couldn't stop thinking about the call from Miss Collins. She was so annoyed and offended that she didn't let Jen come back. Shouldn't that be my decision? Did Miss Collins think she was really fooling me by telling me she was looking out for me and not wanting me to get stressed out, saying I need rest? I know she just doesn't want me to ruin her precious play again. The more Jen thought about it, how could she blame Miss Collins for not wanting Trainwreck Part 2? And how could I recover from that? The next day would be ridiculous. I know I'd be so ridiculously nervous. What would I tell Mom? She'd be devastated if I told her she couldn't go, but how could she go? Maybe she deserves to have her feelings hurt. Still, I couldn't imagine what the other cast members would say. Maybe it is a good thing I'm not doing it. Why? Why does my mother have to be like this? She already ruined her own life. Why does she have to ruin mine too? Almost immediately, Jen knew that it was unfair to think of her mom, that she had ruined her own life. All in all, Lana's life could be much worse. Jen, however, did not feel bad for thinking that her mom had ruined her life, though. She rolled over, lying there on her back, staring up at the ceiling, as tears began to roll down the sides of her face. She could feel the pillow on both sides of her face starting to get wet. The pervasive question in her mind again was, why me? But a moment later, that feeling of overwhelming peace came over her again, and into her mind, as if it had came from somewhere else. I know the plans I have for you. Plans to bless you, Jen, not to hurt you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Jen felt as if she were hearing anew, not just remembering. She was again overwhelmed by a feeling of love. The only difference this time is that the tears stopped when she felt it. She closed her eyes and was asleep moments later. Jen spent the rest of the day reading, napping, watching TV until her Aunt Julie called towards dinner time. Jen, your mom told me what happened. How bad was it? Bad. Oh, how humiliating. Jen, I'm so sorry. Jen, I'll come down there in a couple weeks and we'll catch up. Hang in there. If we weren't already away from the weekend in Traverse City, I would come now. That's okay. I'll call you later if I get a minute. Okay. Okay, Jen, I love you. I gotta go. I love you too, Aunt Julie. Jen, Lana, and Ronnie were off to church the next morning. Jen walked in the First Congregational Community Church. She looked around for Adam and Lindsay, as she did every week. Usually they were the ones that found her. Today, Jen looked throughout the service, turning her head to the side and even glancing behind to see if they were somehow sitting in the back. Yet Adam and Lindsay were nowhere to be found. Jen had brought the stylish rain jacket Lindsay had lent Jen while she was standing in the rain. Since Lindsay had been at the play, Jen felt that Lindsay was one of the few people that understood and might be a good person to talk to. She went back and forth about possibly calling Lindsay to talk, but couldn't bring herself to it. She was kind of hoping Lindsay would call her, but it hadn't happened. Although Jen tried to distract herself with homework, books, music, and movies, she still felt like she was on a roller coaster ride, feeling devastated and depressed one moment, oddly numb another, and then almost hopeful toward life in the next. And that was chapter 18. All right, so, yep, that was that. You know, it's wild. I guess I'll start with the front of the chapter. You know, it's kind of interesting. Like, you know, I don't know if you've ever had the same feeling where you woke up, or like, maybe it's just me because I like sleep so hard. So when I wake up, I'm like so out of it. But I've had days where like I was really upset about something. I went to bed, I'm really upset, and I got up, and I almost felt like I kind of like knew. I knew there was something wrong. What is this like feeling? Like, I feel like something's wrong, and I don't know what, I don't remember, and I have no idea what happened, or what I'm upset about. And then as I start to wake up more and more, I'm like, oh yeah, that, dang, like I think that Jen was, I don't know if you ever felt like that, but I have definitely had that, just being so out of it, like I don't even know why. Like I feel like I'm like stressed out about something, but I don't know why. I have like a pit in my stomach, but I don't know what it is. And then finally like wake up enough to remember, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That sucks. And just kind of takes a moment from there. As the chapter goes on, you can see that Lana has he decided to stay home from work, so that's good that she like realized her daughter was struggling, and decided to change her work schedule, to switch work schedule with another person at work so she can make Jen breakfast. But Jen wasn't really, obviously wasn't sure, if she was feeling it or not. And, kind of like, the one part where she kind of decides herself, like, look, I can eat breakfast and not be okay with my mom, like my mom still, I always watch this like funny video and stuff about like, about people not being ready to, not being ready to hear an apology, right? And this is one video, video my wife sent me, and it's like amazing. And it was this girl saying, it was like this guy and this girl, and it's like, when she's ready to apologize, the girl comes in like, oh baby, I'm sorry, and immediately the guy gives her a big hug and like just kind of holds her for a minute. It's like, oh, it's okay, I know you're sorry, blah blah blah. And then it was like the opposite, and it was like when he's ready to apologize, but like she's not, and then he goes over, like sits on the couch next to her, and like leans over to like, tell her he's sorry, and then she punches him in the face and shoves him off the couch, and it's like hilarious, and it is amazing. And I feel like I'm so happy my wife sent that, mate, because I feel like that is sometimes us. We're like, I am quick to accept the apology, and then sometimes my wife's she's not feeling it yet. She's like, no, I'm not ready to get this apology yet. And it's amazing that she sent that. So it was good. But Jen was kind of like that. She's like, nope, I appreciate the breakfast, Mom, but I am not ready for the apology yet. So that's just how it goes sometimes. I think going to the next kind of part as this chapter goes on is that Lena answers the phone, and Lena answers the phone and then have to talk. And I'm telling you right now, it is a different world that you can call. You can be like in high school and like call your friend directly. Bruh. This is definitely dating myself, but like as a barely millennial, I'm almost like the generation before that, but as a barely still considered a millennial, I vividly remember having to call my friends and have to like talk to their parents beforehand. Like literally before I ever had a chance to talk to my friends, I would have these little like kind of like like little talks with like their parents. Oh, hey Aaron, how are you doing today? Oh, it's good. How's school? It's like, okay, I didn't really call to talk to you. Parent, friend, like friend of my, or my parent of my friends. And it's a different world, especially like if you kind of like, or like, you kind of like vibing with the girl and stuff. And then, you'd have the dad answer, be like, hello, who you trying to talk to? Who? Why are you trying to talk to my... And every once in a while they would like say something crazy like, why are you trying to talk to my daughter? And he'd be like, because she's my friend, or just something. Like it was wild. Wild to have to, different world, man. And I never, like Lena, like telling too much information about like that, I remember my parents would just be like, I didn't want them to say any information. Just hand me the phone. That was it. Every once in a while, my dad would be like, oh, he's in the bathroom, or, oh, he's like doing this and this, and like, don't tell him what I'm doing. Like, just like say, all right, I'll give it to you in a minute. Like, you know what I mean? It just kind of irritated me. Like, why are you giving this? Why are you talking about my business? Why are you trying to tell people what I'm doing? And then that was one of my things I enjoy writing about with Lena, doing that to like a crazy scale, talking about every single thing that Jen is doing, kind of thing. Just not having that filter to like, it's need to know information that, they don't know about it. So, but it's a different world, man. I'm telling you. You can imagine like having to call or having to intermediate through your friends to like try to talk to your friends. Like it's so much easier just to like call or text your friends like directly. It's a different world kind of thing. And then the next part of the chapter is just crazy, is the play director thing. And, just about how I can just see this play director. I can see it clear as day. Because the play director is like, oh, hey, well, I don't want my play ruined, so I'm just going to, like, decide I'm, quote-unquote, helping her by not letting her continue with the play, And I can just see that coming like a mile. Like that's just absolutely something like a play director would do. Just this whole idea of like, oh, I'm helping the student by not letting him do it. Like, and I think it was pretty easy to see through that. Even Jen was like, yeah, you're not fooling anybody by saying that. But at the same time, after Jen, all the drama and embarrassment, that she just went through, it was kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess I don't really want to come back anyways. So you can't really blame Jen either way about it, And then the comment where Jen was not particularly happy when, they said, the students say, oh, well, the other students told me all about your mom. Well, Jen would probably argue that none of those students really knew her mom at all. So why would they, who even knows what kind of, gossip they were, telling the play director, especially after, that dramatic, humiliating thing that the mom did. I'm sure they're probably, all saying that, their mom is, more crazy than she is or something, not that she's really crazy, but just more dramatic and having more issues than she even does, kind of thing. So yeah, I can just imagine people talking, gossiping about that and not really having any idea what they're actually talking about. So that sucks. And it was from that moment that she was able to kind of, obviously it was upsetting and going back to her room and kind of arguing with her mom. And I think it was good that she at least got it off her chest, the things she wanted to say to her mom, and that, Mom, I don't know if you can even, if you're even able to understand how embarrassing that was. Because, Lena is so kind of oblivious to, social skills and stuff. I think she obviously knows her daughter's, upset, but I feel like she doesn't fully, understand why. So I think that, being that moment and then going upstairs and just, being really emotional again. And then, in the midst of that, it's not that she was, remembering, but she felt like God was speaking to her the same thing again. I actually had a time in my life where I kind of had this, moment with God where I felt like God was, really speaking to me in a deep, a personal way. And then later in the day, I went to, a church service, that evening or whatever. And I had someone, pray for me. And I just kind of felt like I had that, that same, it was almost like God was telling me again. It wasn't like me. It's not like I remembered it while I was praying. It was almost like I had the same, moment again. I'm, bawling my eyes out. I feel like, just felt like God's, presence and stuff so strongly. And, yeah, I mean, I kind of wrote it the same way where it's not just that she was remembering. It was that she really felt like God again was reminding her of what he had told her and speaking to that over to her again. And one of the last things in the chapter is that, she is struggling until she ends up talking with her aunt, right? Her Aunt Julie. Shout out to Aunt Julie's. Both my wonderful Aunt Julie as well as my wife's Aunt Julie, which is the reason why I decided to go with that character. So I had two Aunt Julies, it's what's a perfect name for an aunt. Anyways, I have other aunts too. Shout out to Lynn and Cindy. Anyways, I don't know. Got to shout out your aunts every now and then, all good. Anyway, so, but yeah, no, just that you have to have those people in your life. This is really what your life. It's those people in your life that you can talk to. I had a friend recently that I was talking to him, and he was just like, thank you so much for just being here, that I can talk. I'm going through a tough time, and just it makes a really big difference to have that. And I just remember I just kind of turned to him and was like, bro, this is life. There's so many times where this was me. I needed someone to talk to, and I had people in my life. I had, my parents are such wonderful people. They're easy to talk to. My good friends and, pastors I've had where I can kind of pour out my heart to them, be like, hey, this is going on in my life and it sucks. And I don't even know what to feel like, and I feel like this and I feel guilty, whatever, whatever, the circumstance was it's so, you just have to have those people in your life. And if you're lacking that, it is awful, because you just need people you can trust, people, especially people that you consider are wise, that have wisdom, that you can kind of really go to. And that is just a natural human thing that every single person needs in your life. And so if you don't have that, just seek that out. Try to find some people that You trust their opinions, not like, oh my gosh, I totally agree with you with everything you say. You should start smoking crack because that's what your heart wants. So just follow your heart, right? No, you need friends that be like, no, don't do that. That's stupid. Don't smoke crack, right? Or like whatever. I'm just being ridiculous, but yeah, you want people that like, wise enough to like tell you that you're being stupid, not just go along with every single thing you say. Yeah, sorry, I have no idea what I'm talking about smoking crack right now, but that wasn't on the podcast agenda, but here we are. Anyways, but yeah, just so you have people that are going to tell you to make good decisions and stuff like that. And then the chapter kind of just ends with, like, her feeling kind of up and down. Even after sometimes you have these like moments of victory in your life or times where you're okay, you kind of have hope. I've just found like still like life is still kind of feels up and down. Like I've had those times where like, your emotions change from like one moment to the next. Like one moment you feel good about it. You're like, all right, okay, things are going to be okay. And other moments you're like, nope, things are not going to be okay. Life still sucks. Like, and you just kind of go up and down. And I just feel like that's when things are going poorly, it just feels like life is always going to be ups and downs. Life is always a little bit up and down, but like, obviously it's harder to see that it will get up again when you are in the midst of something that is not going well. So, all right, we'll have to see what continues to happen these last couple chapters. So we got like 2 or 3 more chapters, and then we'll do some other kind of fun episodes after that. But we're getting kind of towards the end of everything. So hopefully you've been enjoying it, and that the podcast is going well with you. And thank you for listening. You're doing a great job with that. I just want to tell you that you're just your listening skills spot on. So, all right, take care. Love you guys. Goodbye.